Nobody can see. I'm your heartbeat. You're a...
I hate this channel.
No! No! Oh boy, this is going to be interesting to cover. So, Hazbin Hotel. I first heard of it when I saw sneak peek clips of it on, of all places, iFunny. Yeah, I don't recommend using it now, but I was intrigued. For the most part, adult animation is a trail mix of great, well-written shows and shitty Family Guy clones. Some shows had great effort put into them, like The Simpsons, Futurama, Duckman. Even early Family Guy was still good before it got briefly canned and then brought back. Next thing you know, you had shows that were trying to be Family Guy, and then by that point it ruins the taste for modern adult animation for me. So to see a show that has some effort put into its creation and production, it's like a breath of fresh air to me. The pilot came out in late 2019. It's fine. It's not bad as people make it as, but it's also not anything good to write home about. It does the job well, introducing the characters and its initial premise and ideas. My main problem with it is that the humor just fucking sucks. Literally every sentence or interaction in the show has to have some sort of curse word because apparently cursing equals funny. There's also some sex jokes, which is really just Angel Dust's entire character. It's pretty childish and lowbrow, not surprising for an adult show. Regardless of what you thought, the pilot did pretty well and received critical acclaim for its animation, characters, and its musical numbers. What I'm trying to say is that it did numbers, which for an online pilot episode at the time was pretty impressive. A month later, the pilot to Hell of a Boss came out, which spun off into its own show in Halloween 2020, but that show deserves a video of its own in the future. In August 2020, A24, an independent entertainment company, picked up the show for production, and subsequently teasers started coming out over the next few years. After some delay due to the writer and actor strikes, its first 4 episodes have finally premiered. I've decided to see if the years of hype and teasing was warranted. Like its pilot, the show focuses on Charlie Morningstar, the proclaimed Princess of Hell. Yes, that is actually canon. Her goal being to open a hotel as some sort of rehab to misfit demons, to teach them to be redeemable people and ultimately enter heaven. In other words, she is indirectly the obscure 13th apostle to Jesus Christ. Now this begs the question, why help people in hell? Surely they're there for some reason. Well, apparently hell suffers from overpopulation, so every year or so, they kill off a portion of their own population. Kinda fucked up if you ask me. Of course, Charlie thinks this is not the way to solve it and believes her idea is an alternate solution. Everyone has doubts about it, of course, so she along with her friends work together to make this idea work. For a show that takes place in hell, this is a pretty redeeming plotline. The episodes themselves, they're mid as hell. I'm sorry, but I had to go through hell and back just to watch these episodes, and my god, I am never getting that hour and 30 minutes of my life back. Almost every episode follows the same format and have 2 plots. The main plot which serves the story, and an unrelated B-plot, which is pretty common for shows like this. To summarize the episodes so far, the first one has Charlie set up with a meeting with the leader of the Angel Army to pitch the hotel, who turns out to be Adam from, you know, the Bible. He's basically a narcissist and a racist to demons. Also, someone dies in the end. The second one introduces us to Vox, who's basically a bootleg pyrocynical, I guess. He, along with Angel's boss, Valentino, has some beef with Alistair and decides to plant Serpentius as a hotel client to bug the hotel. Long story short, he's now an ally, I guess. The third one revolves around Alistair getting some info about the killing of an exorcist, which was mentioned in episode 1, choosing Pentius's egg minions. The fourth one is a more serious episode which deals with Angel's struggles regarding his career. The latter is probably the best and the worst of the 4, due to it showcasing Angel's career.
This is classy art.
And also discussing sexual abuse and abuse in the sex industry, which is a serious and legitimate problem. With all that being said, what do I like about this show? Honestly, not much. One good thing I will say is the animation is great, which is thanks to Bento Box Entertainment, who you might know for animating these shows. I do understand that the pilot was more of an independent effort, and thus it's not as polished, but personally, I prefer Bento Box's interpretation of the show. The musical score, done once again by Gooseworks, is also pretty great. The musical numbers themselves range from pretty decent to downright horrible. Some of them don't even have a setup, they just happen out of nowhere.
I can do this. Somehow I know it. I'll get...
God damn it, where's the feed? You see what I'm saying? You didn't see that coming, didn't you? Anyways, before I started watching this show, there was already some backlash regarding the casting. Because if you haven't noticed by now, yeah, everyone got recasted, which is probably due to them not joining the Actors Guild, according to voice actor Michael Kovac. I'll admit, some of the castings kind of work, like with Charlie and Vaggie, who are now portrayed by Erica Henningsen and Stephanie Beatrice. You might recognize the latter as Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. However, what doesn't work is the rest of everybody else. Angel Dust is now portrayed by Blake Roman instead of the aforementioned Michael Kovac, who I honestly thought did the role Angel justice, even though Angel is my least liked character. Alistair is now portrayed by Amir Talai instead of Edward Bosco, who once again was perfect for this role. And Husk is now portrayed by none other than Keith David. You know, the guy who did Arbiter in Halo 2 and 3, and King Andreas in Amphibia. And while I do appreciate his involvement in this project, honestly, Mick Lauer was better suited because Husk now sounds like Arbiter if he was a furry. I mean, no disrespect with the voice cast, who are doing their best with their roles. But honestly, I prefer the original cast because it works so much better. The writing isn't any better either, because the humor is back to curse word and sex jokes. Because apparently that's still hilarious for the 40th time. It's actually so irritating that they still think this is peak humor. Literally, in the lead up to this show, there were entire memes about it. So much so that Vivziepop actually responded about it. I've been influenced by Seth Rogen comedies. Oh, you mean the shitty ones? Also, I think South Park is a little more than just curse word jokes. I weep for you if you don't think a well-delivered fuck joke is funny.
Oh, cry me a fucking river, Barry!
In conclusion, this show is extremely mid. I'm calling it mid because while it did improve the animation and expand the lore of the story and characters, the writing is just awful. The jokes suck too. There were times where I struggled to continue the show because of the jokes alone. In fact, the only joke that got a genuine laugh out of me was this.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to not have sexual intercourse before marriage!
Hell yeah! Yeah! So something morally redeemable for now. This show was a complete disappointment for me. This show could have been better received if they just took themselves seriously and not have a fuck word in every scene. The 4th episode is probably the closest to what this show could have been if it just took itself seriously. I completely wasted my time into even investing into this shit. I had to pirate these episodes for fuck's sake. I'd rather give $50K to a prostitute in hell for some head than watch this dog shit. That's disgusting, I apologize. If you like this show, that's completely fine. But personally, I couldn't stand a minute of it. This show, while ambitious, ends up looking immature, especially with Vivziepop's brand of humor. But what do you guys think? Is it a show worth the years of teasing and hype? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, that's the video, and until next time...
It starts with...
One thing, I don't know why, it doesn't even...